I'm Richelle Willhite. I'm the designated broker and owner of Best Choice Realty. And tonight we're going to be joined with a couple guests. I've got Brian Bentley and Danny Lawler here with me tonight. And we're going to be talking about seller equity. And so before we do, I just want to remind you guys, we do these calls every Monday night from 5:30 to 6 o'clock Pacific time. And we like to share what's being discussed, how we can keep ourselves really apprised of what the market's doing, as well as any new forms, any kind of new practice, any kind of new things that we're hearing about. We want to make sure that our agents at Best Choice Realty are being properly trained on those things. So the latest and greatest that I've heard a lot about when I've been out talking with you is really understanding how we can leverage the seller's equity and talk to these types of things. And so that's what we're going to talk about tonight. And what better person than Brian Bentley and Ticor to help me when we get to that part in the program tonight. But just to quickly update you on the market, if you haven't watched the news, and I don't know about you, but I've been like this, I don't want to hear anything. I post something on my social media channel though about my vacation I did a few weeks ago, spring break, and I'm getting a lot of likes because it's all about the military. Who would have thought we're talking about the military, but it does impact our real estate business. The Department of Justice just dropped a probe into Jerome Powell today, and the new Fed chair should be confirmed in June, which, again, we could have good news or we could have bad news. We don't really know, but change also kind of creates some uncertainty in our real estate market. But, we're still having buyer transactions, and we still have a record number of sellers, at least within our company, that's happening every single month. In fact, last month was one of our best months ever in our history. And this month is slated to have a very, very good month. So if you're sitting on the webinar tonight, or maybe you're listening to this recording after we post it, if things are not going well for you, hopefully I will give you a few ideas, or some of my friends will give you a few ideas on how you can maybe think about your business differently. Bridge loans are still an option. In fact, I've been doing real estate now a long time, over 20 years, and bridge loans were kind of a thing of like, oh, don't do a bridge loan. But with the rates being as high as they are, and then there's some other bridge loan product, then we actually are able to overcome some of the uncertainty in the marketplace. So if you're kind of thinking, should my client do a bridge loan? You might want to get in touch with your lender and see if they can put together a package, or at least talk about the finances with your client. There are more programs that I've seen in Washington, Idaho, and Oregon than ever in the past. Even in 2008, there was not as many programs. So hopefully you can get yourself in touch with a lender who can bridge the gap. No pun intended with a bridge loan. So here's the big question. Sellers are not going to list. This is what they say, or this is what I've heard, that we have to contend with out there in the marketplace, because they are not going to move because they've locked in at such a low interest rate. And once you have a full consultation, you explain where we've been and where we're going, then they start to open up and talk about their situation. I just got done doing a client appreciation party and invited over 100 clients to attend a client appreciation party that I did out there in the fields of Sumner and Sumner Valley. And what I can tell you is I was able to talk to some of the sellers who have locked in at those low interest rates, and they're at a point where they can actually use their equity to buy an investment property, or maybe trade up and lock in, even though it might be higher, but use their equity to kind of help them get to their next phase in life. Buyers can't afford to buy because their monthly math just doesn't work. So a lot of them are kind of stuck. And so when that happens, the market freezes because the conditions make transacting, they think, nearly impossible. So you have to be the hero and come up with some solutions or some ideas. And that's what I've come up with today, and we'll show you what I use. I call it the Great Reset. It's not the Great Recession like 2008. Some of you who worked a long time, I think we're in a great reset, and it's time to get creative. As we head into summer, this is the time to roll up your sleeves and figure out how you can do things a little bit differently. Some things that you may have not tried. these are the things that I would recommend you doing. There's going to be rising costs. I don't know about you, but the gas is still a problem for many of my clients. Some people are fixed with their wages and they use that as an excuse to move forward on something. But then there's also life expenses that kind of throw people for a curveball, and they're looking to you as a consultant or a strategist to help them in some of the biggest decisions of their life. The buyers are out there. That's the surprising thing. That's why I don't call this a recession. It's a reset. They're out there, but the system that they are currently accustomed to is shifting. Shannon, when she was doing the slide, she goes, "Is that Rachel? Is that Richelle Willhite? Was that a typo?" No, that's an actual person. She's a strategist and she's a well-known writer who talked about we're in a poly crisis. So I'll give you bonus points if you can look that up and find out what that really means. But I would agree with her that we're in some sort of reset right now where you have to think differently. So my advice before I turn it over to Brian and Virginia to show the tool that I'm using is to be a strategic advisor. Number one, don't think of things as a price. Don't think of, when your clients are like, oh, that's really expensive, or oh my gosh, that price is so high. When they start to use those types of words, turn that around and think of it in a monthly cost. So get with your lender. We don't have a lender partner right now because I want you to choose the best lender for you. I could make a lot of money if you were asking me if I had a lender partner, but I want you to choose the best lender for you and for your clients at this time. And get with them and think of the solution or the programs and think of it as monthly costs. Get your client a sheet that kind of breaks down what the monthly cost would be on a purchase price and think strategically. Number one. Number two, redefine ownership. Be really big about discussing with your buyer when you're out there or you're doing a consult about ownership and how that's impacted your life. All I have to do is talk about some of the ownership decisions that I made in my early career. And I paid 6.75% on an interest rate when I got my first home. So that's an easy conversation for me to lean into. But I talk about it differently. I talk about opportunities that exist within my own portfolio, like condos that I've owned or that I've sold or that I currently have listed, and how some of the sellers have come down really big on their prices to make it very, very enticing for clients to pick it up, showing that condo market, especially in King County, will rise up once things settle down a little bit with the job market. Credits, that there are some credits that are available if you just talk strategically with the seller. I heard from somebody in our office who got their lender to close quickly to then go back to the seller and say, hey, we need the seller to buy down the interest rate. If we can close quickly in 2 weeks, can the seller buy down the interest rate for us so that we can put this deal together? It saved the client over $10,000. The client was ecstatic. That's the kind of stuff when I talk about credits and redefining ownership is use your team and then also negotiate, use your skills to be able to find those pockets or those areas of opportunity. There are programs too to help the underserved, the first-time home buyers. Still, if you did a survey, most buyers think that they still have to put 20% down. That's still the misnomer out there. So give them some good things to talk about and use your financial helpers, the buy downs, the credits, the programs to help put something together and get your client excited about getting into ownership. And then explain the marketplace. Be a translator of information. So when they use their AI and they go to you and say, well, this is not, I don't know, be the translator and interpret that for them and maybe ask them to reprompt their AI and not just be the tour guide that's opening the doors, but explaining the marketplace and explaining what that means to them and encouraging them to move forward with some of their decisions. And then build an SOI. An SOI, for those of you who are new, sphere of influence. It is super important. That is the most important thing that I think I can share with you today that will keep you going year after year, no matter what kind of marketplace we're in. If we're in a buyer's market, a seller's market, when you have a strong sphere of influence and you are doing a lot of your business with repeat business, people you work with in the past, quite frankly, it's a much more fun business to run. And I would say an easier business than to kind of work the leads or internet people that come in. It's a much more desirable business plan. So be a strategic advisor. And then I don't know if you guys know about this, but we have a very similar program that some of these big corporate companies have, and we have it at Best Choice Realty. It's called Revive. It's a program through Notable. You can click the UR, click or like scan the QR code, or type up notablehome.com, Best Choice Realty Revive, apply, and you can easily see if you're applied. This is exclusive to Best Choice Realty agents. It's an unsecured, no lien, personal line of credit. This would help a lot of your sellers get out of the mindset of like all my equity is tied up, Richelle. I can't make a decision. It's like, okay, so you don't have any money for your moving expenses. You don't have any money for your to replace the flooring or the carpeting or to repaint your house. One of my sellers in Spokane, he had to paint the exterior of his home because all of the homes that we're selling were new construction around him. And so I told him, I said, let's get that going. Let's get that paint. And then that way we're going to be able to be faster track to getting you to your next house in a different state. It does not impact the credit score. You can use it for contractor services or your own vendors, and you don't pay it back until you close escrow. So it's a way that you can leverage your equity and not have it affect your credit score. And it's up to $50,000. So a lot of those people are on the fence. Even my mom included, she was on the fence. She was like, I don't know, there's a lot of moving parts. It's like you got to take some of those burdens from your client and think creatively and come up with solutions. And Revive has been a solution for many people that we put this in front of. Let's go to the next. I'm going to skip this one and we're going to go right into, I want to have enough time. I told Brian I got 15 minutes. And Virginia and I have been trying to talk to agents about how they use their app. I'm just going to give, before I turn to Brian, I'm going to say that if there's one app on my phone that I have used the longest, and I got the Ticor agent app, probably in beta stage, Brian. I'm going to date myself here, but I got the Ticor agent app even before Brian was at Ticor, I think. I mean, that's putting it way back. But it's the most used app that I use on my phone. And this app will work all across Washington. I don't know about Idaho or Oregon. You'll have to let me know about that, Brian. But what I can tell you is I use that Ticor agent app. I don't go out the door with like a printed net sheet. I use the Ticor agent app as like an interactive thing that I use with my clients when I'm at a seller appointment or when I'm working with a buyer. And I've become so like addicted to it that I can't afford to use any other app. It's my favorite app. So I'm happy to introduce Brian. Brian is one of my favorite preferred people. He's even a preferred client. I invited him to my customer appreciation party. He's the most kind. If you have not worked with Brian, you're missing out. He is the most kind, gentle human being on this planet. And he just happens to work at Ticor, and I don't know what Ticor would do if they didn't have Brian. That's what I'll say.
Cry.
And Danny is an outstanding closer, and Danny's been with Ticor for a very long time. So the two of them, I would consider the dream team of title escrow resources. And I would love it if Virginia, I know you had some questions about the app that a lot of the new agents are asking about. Can you show your screen? And then
Yep.
Brian, do you want to just kind of give, I pitched you pretty hardcore,
You,
but tell them a
you
little
did.
bit
You
more
did.
about the app.
I feel like I should cut you a check, Richelle.
I
Oh,
would.
no, we don't do that.
No,
I
I know.
can
I'm
I say
joking.
something real quick,
Go
Rochelle?
ahead. Go ahead,
I
Danny.
have used this app as party tricks.
Yes.
People want to know what can I get from my home sale. I'm like, oh, let me
Let me
show
go
you.
ahead. So
Yeah.
you're like me. You're like addicted to the app too, right?
Yes, yes.
I think it's replaced my calculator. I think. Yeah, I think I use the app, the Ticor Agent app, more than I use my calculator on my phone. So
I love it. Yeah.
yeah. So
It
Brian,
is.
tell us how we get the app and what do we need to do and what
There's.
does it cover and give us the
Yeah.
whole high level thing.
Absolutely. Thanks again for that too kind of introduction. So basically, there's two different ways you can get the app. You can go into your app store, you can download the app, and then you just select whatever rep you work with, or you can reach out to whatever rep you work with at Ticor Title and just say, "Hey, I want the app," and then we can refer it to you. For those who are Tom Ferry fans, basically Tom Ferry tells everyone, if you're a real estate agent, you need this app on your phone. It is the number one app for real estate agents across the nation. So it's the number one app. So, and it's extremely convenient. I can't wait to dive into this. When I came to Ticor, I got introduced to this. I was at a lesser title company, and we didn't have anything like this. And I was so excited to dive into this because at the end of the day, the goal is to give you an advantage over everyone you're competing against. And we have a saying in title and escrow: you don't live in the house price, you live in the house payment. So at the end of the day, customers want to know, how much is it costing me every month to live in this house, right? To buy this house. So while you're on an appointment, you're in a house with a client, you can create an estimate for them right there. I'll go into an open house on the weekends and I'll ask an agent, if someone came in and wanted you to, create an estimate for them, can you? 95% of them say, no, I can't. I just tell them to contact their lender. I said, you're missing a huge opportunity. Before I leave today, I want you to be able to do that. And so, it's a great opportunity to run through it today.
So it works for buyers and sellers, right, Brian?
Exactly.
I mean, yeah. And it's also, I think if you pay the extra, the annual subscription, you got some extra, like instead of contacting your lender, you can actually send some images and put some stuff on your social. I don't even use it for that, but what I like about it is if I pay for the paid version, I don't know if this is just something I have because I'm the designated broker, but I can get the actual fees. Is that something that comes with the paid, or is that in the free, where I can toggle between the different counties that I work in?
Right. So in the free, you have all the calculators. If you do
Really?
the pay version, yeah, the calculators come with the free. If you
Okay.
do the pay version, it's either 99 cents a month or $10 a year.
Okay.
Insurance commission makes us charge you something for it. But when you pay for the premium, everything you click on is branded to you. It doesn't mention Ticor. It doesn't mention myself or Danny. Everything is branded directly to you. And one of the benefits of signing up for the premium is that you can schedule your posts. So if you're a real estate agent, you're like, okay, I'm looking for content. Everyone's telling me I need to post, but I'm running out of things to post. You can pick the platform you post on and create content for the next couple of weeks if you like, and schedule when you want it to show on your social media.
Okay. So that's some extra, but most people just need the calculator, right? And if
Correct.
it's branded with Ticor, I think that gives you some credibility going into an appointment. So if you haven't done the free thing, does it work in Washington, Idaho,
It
Oregon?
should
No,
it
Idaho.
should work in any state you're in. It should work in.
Okay, perfect. Okay, well, I think there were some questions, so I want to be
Okay.
respectful of time. Virginia, are you able to share your screen and kind of show
It's
some of
not
the,
sharing for whatever reason. I think it's because I'm on my phone. So I'm working on it. So let's
okay.
ask questions because Brian is smart.
Why would somebody want to get this over using, say, the MLS typically has one, or I can get one from my other title company, Brian. Why would I want to use the app? Let's go there.
Okay. One of the reasons is you can put in the person's address, and about 60% of the time it's going to pull up the property taxes. The title and escrow fees are built in as well. So it's going to be very close to an actual estimate. So you can give your estimate with confidence that if you're telling your buyer this is about how much you're going to pay, it's very accurate. And we're the next rollout, you're actually going to be able to just text when you're having a listing appointment, and they're going to send you the net sheet for you. You're not going to have to go in and put all the numbers in yourself. That's what's coming. So
Can
it's
I say
extremely convenient.
something?
Yeah, go ahead.
So it updates daily with interest rates of the current market, also with each county for taxes. It updates daily. So it's more than 60%. It's like 95% accurate with the daily what's happening in the market and with the county tax rolls.
Okay, awesome. So if I was going on an appointment with a buyer and the buyer was like, well, I'll just need to think about it. I just need to call my lender. You could be pretty close to being accurate, right? If you had the app.
Yes.
And,
Yes.
and another thing you can do for those buyers that are on the fence, right? We're told that typically interest rates drop during pandemic and a war, right? So we're in a war with Iraq or Iran and, the Middle East, and interest rates haven't dropped. Everyone's waiting for interest rates to drop. So we have the buy now compared to buy later. So for those who are waiting for the interest rates to drop, you can calculate if you wait a year and this house basically value goes up, this is what your payment is going to be a year from now compared to if you buy now, plus you're going to pay rent for another year. So you can give your clients a snapshot of what reality is, and the benefits of buying now compared to waiting and buying later.
Okay. So what items show up on the seller net sheet that are most surprising, would you say? And that might be a question for Danny. I mean, I've had to come up to you and so the items that show up on the kind of the generic net sheet or the things that maybe I don't see that you have to deal with when it comes to the time of escrow.
So if we don't have a TBD title open and I'm just doing a net sheet based off either you're asking what seller will net and you're just giving me a payoff. So we're putting in commission and you tell me 5,000 closing costs, estimate HOA, but we've not seen a title report. The only thing then between that estimate that we give you is when the actual title report comes in and maybe there's an assessment on there that
Okay.
was not disclosed.
So we need to be watching condos. We need to be watching the HOAs. Those are some things that if we were listening today or even in the future, we need to make sure that we think about. Sewer capacity, I know in some counties, right? That would be something that would be surprises. Anything else that's surprising for clients when they get to the closing table? We obviously don't want to have surprises. That's not what we want when we start this process.
There are what are called LIDs or ULIDs, which are, and we don't know until we get a transaction, or if you set up a TBD, if you have a listing, we can stop this or help navigate it is the word I was looking for. But I just had one recently. No one knew about it. We get the title report in. It wasn't a prior title. And there's an assessment recorded from King County that in 2 to 5 years, the seller is going to be responsible for $10,000 because they're putting in new sidewalks. So that is a future assessment, but there is no dollar amount. So really, we can't charge, even if it's marked on the first page, seller to pay future assessments. There is no dollar amount.
Okay. So how would one know about that? Would that be something that
it's recorded on title?
Okay.
So we have to point out, new buyer, you are going to be, after you move in, 2 years, 5 years from now, you're going to be billed either monthly or you can pay it up front when these sidewalks or sewer is installed. What happened on the one that I closed, the buyer said, okay, I acknowledge this will be done in the future. We don't know how much it's going to be. So if the seller will give me $1,000 credit for me taking on this, then I'll go ahead with the transaction. And that did happen.
Okay. There's somebody that just texted me, Danny, we get these texts that come in on the chat and also personal text that said, can you describe what LID means? And that might be a newer broker that doesn't know what LID is. That common in Washington or is that also in other states? What does it stand for? How would I look that up? What's
local improvement district? So basically it's the county or city when they come in and do either water, sewer, sidewalks, parks, and then they charge the homeowners around.
Okay.
And they can record those and attach it to each parcel with a certain dollar amount for the total. Like, let's say it's 20,000. I'm just pulling out a number. $20,000. There's five homes in there. So each of those five
Would be
homes.
assessed the difference between the 20.
Correct.
Ratio.
And it can be paid up front once it's complete, or they will get billed monthly, just like a utility bill.
Okay. Well, I mean, there's those types of things. Is there anything else that surprises? I mean, because lids don't happen all the time, Danny. I mean, I don't want to.
No, they don't. They don't.
The percentage of homes that have a lid is like the percent. That's where I don't want to go to the fear, like with agents that are out there talking. It's like, okay, that happens. Like how much? One out of 100?
Well, I've done it. I've been in escrow 35 years, and I've probably had 5.
Okay, see, that doesn't happen.
So no.
Why are we concerned to be, not transparent with our clients when they ask about fees and what am I going to net? And I know as a consumer, that's one of the most important things that I look to when I was 19 years old, before I even got my real estate license, and I'm having to connect with the real estate agent. The real estate agent I chose was somebody who broke down the fees for me. That was able to go down the list and say, this is how much my commission is. This is how much you're going to have to pay the buyer's agent. This is how much the excise tax is in Washington. This is how much the title is going to be. The person that can explain that to the consumer is the one that's going to win. And let's not get so hung up on the what if.
Right. It's because the title report for that property is not being reviewed by the buyer or seller, and or agents. But we are sending out a red flag saying this is on here. And then come after closing, all of a sudden, buyer's getting a bill. Why didn't we know about this? You did know about this.
Mm-hmm.
So.
Okay. Well, Danny, that was very helpful to have that little discussion with you. Excise tax in Washington, that's on a sliding scale. That's another reason why you want to use the app, because I used to be able to just kind of calculate with a straight percentage, and now with everything changed, I can't keep up to date with like, okay, is it in this range or that range? That's the number one reason that I use the app, is because I can't calculate that in Washington. That's pretty accurate, right? That's not going to.
Yes, very accurate. That is to the penny. Even with the $5 extra, that excise tax is to the penny. Okay, and just like on the app also, you can put in what county you're calculating the taxes for. And it is pulling it. If you put in the address, it pulls it for that county.
Okay.
So it gets your proration very precise.
Perfect. The other question that just came in to me today was on the city taxes. Do you come up with are there different city taxes as well as the excise tax, or is that factored into the app as well? When I put the address in and I do a net sheet on my Ticor agent app, Brian, maybe does that
it is. Pull? It does change per city. And when I said the 60% accuracy, that's if you put the actual person's address in. Mm-hmm. There's a 60% chance it's going to pull up their the property taxes for their actual home. So when I said the 60%, that's what I was referring to.
Not the overall calculation.
Not the overall. Yeah, just that person.
That makes sense.
Property taxes.
No, my accuracy is a lot better, Brian.
That was for
promoted app.
I was like,
So
I did a search on my Spokane property, Danny, and it was like, I compared the financial tools that are on a couple MLSs, right? They have their own little kind of calculators. And the Ticor app actually had a better breakdown. It had more full data set than the one I was pulling from the MLS. So the MLS better look out. They need to make sure their apps are, talking to title escrow and making sure they comply with how the calculations are coming out, because that's a big deal when you send something out. I think that's the other thing I get is like, well, am I going to be on the hook if something's not right? On the bottom of the Ticor agent app and any estimated net sheet, it should say on the bottom that it's not perfect. There's a little disclaimer that usually shows up. Make sure if
Right.
you're using something that's not the Ticor agent app, or it's maybe another calculator, that if you're going to put your name or you're going to give that to a client, make sure that that it shows up, that the little disclaimer is there. We had somebody that, I won't name any names, another designated broker in the area, who has their clients, has their agents have their clients sign the net sheet. I'm not going to go so far as to have you sign the net sheet, but you need to be able to understand what information you're putting in and then what you're getting out, and make sure your clients understand that it's an estimate. I'm so bold to say that it's not off greatly. I think it's with a couple $100 is what I usually tell my clients. Virginia, do you say the same thing with your
I
clients?
say it's a range, and we have the app up now if we want to take a look at it real fast. Took me a moment.
Can I say something real quick
Sure.
with what Richelle was saying? The difference between the Ticor agent and the MLS, I've had comparisons where I've had an agent run theirs and we did ours. We actually went to closing and ours was $5 and MLS was off thousands.
Okay. So I think it's because of it could be the taxes, it could be the title recording fees, I think. I'm trying to think. I mean, it could just be simply just you didn't factor in a few things.
It's weird, and I've had so many complain about the MLS net sheet. I'm like, I don't know how to work that one because we can't get in there. But ours is, like I said, I use it as a party trick. So yeah.
The other thing that you want to do, and I think this is important to state before Virginia shows, is you should review your closing statements before you close. Right, Brian?
Absolutely.
The agent needs to do that.
So important.
That's their job. It's in Idaho, the designated broker is responsible to review the closing statement. That's how important it is in Idaho, is they make it my job to review all of the calculations in Idaho. In Washington, that burden is not on my shoulders, it's on your shoulders as the agent. You need to review your closing statement and don't have your client show up and go, oh, I didn't go into the secure portal to look it up because I was too lazy. Hopefully you're not one of those agents, because you work for Best Choice. You better not be lazy and not check your closing statements.
Yeah, you know how many times that we've sent a statement out, we close, and then all of a sudden we get a call or an email the next day. Oh, I forgot to send you this bill.
Yeah. Or I forgot to put on the home warranty that I went ahead and decided to do. Or I'm giving a credit to one of my clients for something. Let's go ahead, Virginia. If we have a couple more minutes, let's show the app so people can see what this looks like. I use it just in talking, so I'm quite familiar with it.
So I have been using the Palm Agent, One Agent app since I was in Oregon. So this was the very first app I had, one of the first apps I had on my phone for real estate. So I've been using this as my go-to. I wouldn't really know how to use the MLS one. I do know how, but I can't stand it. So if I was to put in, I mean, I'm just being honest, and it's late in the day, so I can be honest, right, guys?
It's Monday too, Virginia.
It's Monday. It's no filter Monday for Virginia.
And I was not trying to say anything bad about the MLS. Let me put that back out there.
No, so if this was my house and I was buying it, and this is the house I was buying, for example, right, Brian?
Yeah.
Okay. So it's going to give me my estimated annual taxes. Everybody can see this, right?
Yep.
And that's what I was talking about, the 60% accuracy in terms
That's a
of
60% accuracy.
if it's gonna pull it, if it's gonna have it or not. Right.
It does have a disclaimer. Property tax information is sourced from county assessor, data aggregated nationwide. So, buyer beware, but you do have that disclosure.
Can I add something right there why it's saying that? Because some taxes, when it pulls from the county, may be a senior exemption. So it's pulling the classification that it's at. So that's why it may be showing lower than what it actually will be for a buyer if it is a
Yeah, just
different
keep it on the
classification.
buyer. Keep it on
Keep
the
it on
buyer,
the
Virginia.
buyer. Okay, I was
Yeah,
like,
because I mean, that is senior exemption, that's kind of why it pulls that way, might be the accuracy part too.
But it'll still pull the address that way for a buyer.
Right.
Yeah.
Because it's going to calculate the taxes, because you need, so a lot of these calculators that you see on the websites, I won't name any names, you know the websites, they're big ones out there that will basically pull they won't pull the taxes and the insurance. They're only going to give them the principal and interest. And you want to calculate the taxes and insurance, the homeowner's insurance, to give them a full picture of what their monthly spend is going to be. So that's what the Ticor Agent app is doing right now. It's pulling that data. And that's where Brian was saying it may not be accurate on the taxes. And then Danny said because of the senior exemption, but there could also be other reasons on how the assessor assessed the property. So you're putting in a conventional loan. Let's just say we're doing the 5% down.
Yeah. Okay, we'll do 5.
Yeah.
5% conventional loan, because nobody does. Oh, some people do. Let's say we're buying this house. It's a rockin' deal right now.
Yeah.
Just under 500, 6.35 interest. The seller's been kind. They've given me $15,000 in closing costs. Man, they're nice. But they're all, yes, continue. The buyer broker fee, I'm not paying that. So you can put whatever's here. This is, and then it defaults to seller, but you could put buyer, you can put split. But I mean, as a buyer, I hope not to have to pay for it. Hazard
Are you having a
insurance.
discussion, Virginia, with them when you're putting this calculator? I do when I'm talking with them about
Yep.
the net.
Well, if for a buyer, yes. For seller, as many of you know, this is actually my lead in with my seller appointment these days. So happy me. So miscellaneous, anything else negotiated. Hazard insurance is actually their homeowner insurance. I get asked that by buyers all the time. Well, why do I need hazard insurance? You don't need hazard insurance. You need homeowner insurance, and that's what it's called. It does default to 1.5%, but I am having all buyers shop their insurance within the inspection period these days, although you can use a 22 VV as well. Estimated taxes, HOA, you can add it here. We're going to close. We're not closing today, folks. I've not seen a one-day close yet. Maybe someday, but we got a really good close. So it's going to compute it, and it's going to estimate property taxes. Once you can either do estimated property taxes based on the value you're paying for it, or the past taxes based on the value that was assessed.
Which one do you check, Brian? Do you advise that we check the estimated one or the other one? I've always wondered about that.
I'd rather check the estimated one. If I'm gonna err, I would rather err on the side of, hey, your payment's actually lower than we thought it would be.
Okay.
Hey, your payment's higher than we thought it would be.
Okay, so let's go to the next.
Okay. And then seller concessions over the limit. Okay. Yes. No, yes, continue, because we're pushing it. Today I'm feeling pushy. Crazy.
You're having the seller pay those, right?
Yeah, well, yeah, it's already said. That's why it flagged me. It said it was over the allowed limits and wanted me to double check myself.
So I'm having to bring in $25,000 to closing, Virginia, and my monthly payment is going to be under $4,000. I'm paying rent right now of $3,500. And this is like the hard conversation. So what do you tell me to go to convince me that I should just go ahead and let's get something written up on this file?
Well, what I would tell you is that the great news is the money you're putting into this, it builds equity in your property, and the money you give your landlord goes straight to his pocket. So is it worth $437 for you to build equity? And if you want to look at it, we also have this fun little calculator, buy now or buy later, the cost of waiting. So that's an amazing calculator as well. There's just so many things here. It's just so much fun.
All right, super. So let's go to the seller net sheet. Brian, I don't think we had very many questions on the buyer side. Let's go to the seller and just make sure that we don't have any questions on that, because that's where I think a lot of you need to start doing some more net sheets with sellers. showing them what they can do with their equity.
And this is a big conversation to have now, especially as people are concerned of what's going on, in my opinion, what's
Yep.
going on today and how they can, we
But
are,
to me, it seems like if I'm not sure, Danny, this is where I probably need to call you, right? And just go.
Yes.
The
And
audience, like if I know Brian tells me it's maybe 60% accurate, I may want to just call you and just say, hey, can you run this one on the taxes?
absolutely. I even get phone calls. I'm going to this listing. They want $50,000 out of this sale. Can you run me a net sheet that shows what the sales price has to be?
Okay.
And this is on here, and that is my favorite. It shows them what the sales price has to be for them to walk away with 50 grand.
So you can basically swing it around, right? You're
Yes.
working
Yes.
backwards.
mhm.
I love that one.
It's
Okay.
called sell the net. That calculator is actually sell the net.
Yep, it
And
is
then-
right. Let's see. Selton is right here.
Okay.
I love it.
And that's a fun one too. And it's not perfect because I just noticed, I know this property and it had a loan that's not on the property. So you always want to verify with your seller, right? So they have complete knowledge of what's going on and hopefully they'll be honest with you, but it does give you a place to start, right? It's not
Yes.
perfect. So, anyways, so you can pick what you want to use. Seller's concessions, I'm going to say we're not going to offer them. And of course, the seller doesn't have to, I just lost the address. The seller doesn't have
Okay,
to.
you shouldn't need the address. Go ahead and pop some things in. Let's get to the end.
Yep.
Because you need the sales price, you need who's paying the commission, interest rate, and then you need the interest
loan
rate,
balance.
right?
The loan balance. So we're going to go, it depends on the person, but I always start with a worst case scenario. So I'll put 3% in there most of the time on all sides. Miscellaneous property taxes, and we're going to put 430 as a loan balance just because it kicks and giggles. Seller interest rate 5.125 because this was a while back, and you can compute it.
Hey, Virginia, if you don't know the seller loan balance, if you click on that little gear in that same box, you put in when they originally bought the home or the
It'll
last time
figure it out.
the refi. Yep, exactly.
Ooh,
It'll
I like that.
calculate
It'll work
if
backwards.
they made the minimum payment. Exactly.
Mhm.
And the same thing applies for the rate. If you don't know their rate, you click on the gear and you know when they got the home or when they refinanced, it'll show you what the average rate during that year was.
Yeah, it's
Oh,
just a
awesome.
great tool.
See, these are some of the upgrades that I haven't even been briefed on, Brian. Where have you been all my life? I mean, I like the app even without the gear, and I can speak to it and it's super easy. And then this is the part that's game changer, right? Virginia, you can send this to your client by text, by
Or
email.
email. You can also do multiple offers, what it would look like. You can do detailed closing costs so they can see really the breakdown of it.
Yep.
So they should not ever be in a gray area. I have heard, and the reason I started doing this a while ago, net sheets have been part of my game for a while, is that I had a lot of times, and maybe Brian and I know Richelle's seen this, heard of clients going to the closing table, not realizing they're going to have to bring a check to sell a home.
Mm-hmm.
And that really upset
That's really sad. And
Yeah.
And that has happened a lot in the last 3 months.
Mm-hmm.
I do have to say a handful in the last 3 months that they had to bring funds in. And it's heartbreaking. Yeah.
Well, we don't want that. We don't want surprises.
Nope.
We want to be fully transparent, especially in the environment that we're in. And I think there's a lot of things we can learn from you, Brian, and from you, Danny, and Virginia. You're amazing at teaching these agents how to do real estate the right way, using the net sheets and using the tools that we have available. So hopefully this was helpful. Thank you so much, Brian and Danny, for jumping on tonight, helping us to go over this. Hopefully you picked up one new trick. I picked up one new trick from Ryan there at the end. I figured out how to use the gear icon. I've been just kind of winging it. Didn't even know that existed. So I picked up one thing. So hopefully you did picked up one thing. Have a great week, you guys, and we'll talk to you next Monday.
Thank you. Have a great week.